All right. You know, Robert's choices for readings and also Yogananda, who he shared from, is brilliant. You know, Yogananda, I mean, hard to surpass that, especially, you know, teachers of our time. He's the closest thing to, you would say Buddha or whatever, of our time. And yet, even Yogananda had challenges. Some physical pains, some relationship challenges. Some of you may not know who he is. That's fine. He's just a wonderful teacher. That's his picture in the back of the room over there. But what a light to the world. And even though he was an Eastern yogi, he came to the West because he knew that was his destiny. His teachers told him, but he also knew it was his destiny. He says the ultimate teaching is that of Christ consciousness. So the ultimate attainment is, it's amazing to hear someone from the Far East saying, it's not about how many asanas you know or how many, breathwork exercises you know. It's about attaining Christ consciousness. So I really loved that he went that direction. He knew very clearly this is about getting back to the ultimate of who we are. But he still had challenges. I was going to ask you guys what you wanted me to talk about today, but we're going to talk about walking the talk. Or walk the talk, whichever, however you want to think of it. But walking the talk. It's so easy to read a book and not apply any of it. It's easy. And some people actually manifest teachers' teachings so they can enjoy the view. I got to tell you, I found a really amazing channel. I love going to listen to them. I become devoted. I go every day to this channel. They're just amazing. Some people are doing it so they don't have to become that. I'm not saying don't go. I'm saying when you go, listen and absorb. Become something different. We should become better people every single day. Oh, but that's asking too much for some people. Because they just want to talk it, think it, hear it, put it on their shirts. Om. And just driving on the street. Om, what a jerk. Look at that person over there. But Om, you have Om on your shirt, but be careful. Be ye careful. Be careful, because what most people don't understand, whatever you claim, you could say, I'm reading this great Yogananda, but you could say, I had this wonderful meditation. Be careful. You'd be better off not knowing or thinking anything high. Just own the inner moron. And I know nothing. I don't have any interest in love, forgiveness, because then nothing's expected. As soon as you start growing, oh my God, you turned up the fire, guys. You start talking spirituality, there's another world that expects you to live up to it. Because if you contradict, you create conflict inside. If you talk the way of Jesus and then you don't act like it, you're actually causing yourself pain in one form or another. You talk Buddha and Om, Namaste, etc. I'm telling you, you cannot think a thought or utter a word that you're not going to be asked to live up to. The universe is a mirror of everything. Talk the talk, it'll mirror, but it's mirroring what? That you talk it and don't live it. You know what the universe is going to do? Give you tests to basically burn you to a crisp to see if there's any gold in you at all. That's using alchemical terminology and not literal. Okay? Seriously, this is how this works. The universe is saying, oh, honey, you know what? We've heard you talking so much about love and forgiveness lately. Your family's calling this week. It's gonna bring the lessons up. You've heard these kinds of things before, but I'm telling you, take it seriously. Don't read a book that you're not willing to apply. If it's not a good book, put it down. But when I walk into, let's say, the bookstore and there's an incense burning, even that I become, the sweetness of that. If I hear a song, and I can listen sometimes to the same songs because I just get so high on that. If you just walk in and hear with your head, what are you doing? The universe is going to reflect that something's not quite right. And we're going to have challenges. We're going to slip and not always walk the talk. But as soon as you hear this from me today or anytime you've heard it in your mind, you need to walk the talk. As soon as you hear that, your conscience knows it now. You can't pretend you didn't hear it. It's too late. So you might as well sit and listen to the rest of today, because it's too late. You already heard. Walk the talk. Now you better just hear about the warnings and the gifts and challenges that come from it, because you've already heard it. And in every category, if you're a nurturer and you know it and feel it and think it, but you don't act like it, it's incongruent. And I'm saying that will cause conflict inside you. So good behaviors, bad behaviors are basically ego-based. Good behaviors come from your soul. Great behaviors come from your alignment with God. So how are you doing today? Well, I would have more good and great behaviors if only other people were different. I understand. And so it is. And the universe is going to line up a bunch more people to what? To become different? No. For you to see differently. The universe doesn't agree with your projections on people. But the reason I don't trust anybody is because my first partner, they totally burned me, man. They ripped me off and they divorced and took everything. I understand. So you'd be happy if only they had not done that. The universe is going to say, we're going to give you some more of them until you can say, I have the power. I mean, honestly, that's how it works. We would like to think that projecting onto others is something we can get away with. You cannot get away with it. It just looks like it. People have gone to their grave looking like they won out because they ripped you off and they were the partner that won the divorce. They're coming back just like you if you still hate them when you pass away. They're coming back and they're going to have to deal with people, not trusting them, and they're going to wonder why. Because you've hurt some people. So it happens. It's really much simpler than we can imagine to correct how things go in our lives. People get confused with this one. They say, on one hand, I hear that God created all things, so why do we have people that would hurt us? Why do we have war? Why do we have what we have? Because God created it all. There's another teaching that is the highest of teachings, I call Christ consciousness, that says God didn't create anything. Well, which one is true? Those are opposites, no matter how you slice it. How do you reconcile those two things? God created everything, God created nothing. Those are very obvious opposites. The only way you can reconcile those is if you get in your right mind, your holy mind. How can I look at I'm going to do this one and curse this one. I'm going to do this one and curse that one. No, sit back. How are they both true? And here's how they're both true. God didn't create anything you can see. God created an invisible universe that is a frequency called love. And what human beings did was they put a membrane over love and it became people. It became everything material. So picture this if you can. Picture if you will. This is Rod Serling, never mind. You guys weren't born yet, but there was this show, Twilight Zone. But anyway, so try to picture this. God, boom, there's this added creation. There's this place, it's called heaven. We think heaven is somewhere. It's right here. Why can't we see it? Because we created judgments on ourselves and others. Any kind of judgment. Judgment that I'm separate from God. Judgment that I'm a bad person. Anything. And the judgments you put on me that I buy into. They become think of it as like a toolbox of sorts. And from that toolbox, we build membrane, skin that can go over all the invisible universe and create a now visible universe. So God did not create what you think as being the universe. God created the one you can't see unless you stop seeing with these eyes. So Jesus says, let thine eye be single and you'll be filled with light. That's what he's saying. Buddha says, heaven's right here. Just lift the veils to see it. What veils? The membrane. What membrane? Our judgments. If I think that I am separate from God, I then assume all of you are separate. If I think I'm really kind of ashamed for leaving heaven, in case you don't know, this isn't Kansas anymore, Dorothy. Something's a little weird here. I mean, think about this. We're not in heaven. This is weird. You're in a world where you can die. How can you die? You're made in God's image. Well, I must have been one that fell through the cracks and just was imperfect. No, everybody's made in God's image. God can't die. How can you die? How can you get sick? It's impossible. But it's not impossible in the world you can see. The one that we manufactured. Manufactured, which means manufactured it. Made it in a factory. We made up our own reality. And it's like a membrane that lies over an invisible world. And so when you look at people and they look like they're there, it's almost like there's a membrane right here. So let's pretend it's me looking at all of you. There's a membrane right here. And when I decide to see you, each of you is pure light pushing through this membrane, and then I can see you. You're pushing through this, pretend it's like a cellophane. And you ever do that? You push your face through and you can see a face, right? That's what happens. When you say, I'm looking for a date, somebody squeezes through the cellophane and shows up and you go, oh, kind of nice looking, baby. But how long's that going to go? It's like saying nice legs. What you mean is, through the cellophane, you appear to be kind of attractive. It's still cellophane. Fall in love with the cellophane and you're cuckoo. The real person is what's behind the cellophane. That's why all relationships go through those stages of fake or shallow love, and the love is lost. And almost nobody gets to the third stage, which is, I'm going to love you beyond the cellophane. The cellophane pressed through and said, I hate you, I'm going to take all your money from me, I'm going to leave you. Believe the cellophane. Really? Is that how you'd raise your kids? Hey kids, these are all souls pushing through cellophane. You should listen to the cellophane. It makes no sense. Why would you fall in love with a frame when there's a great picture in it? There's something more there than meets the eye, literally. And so we let people off the hook. We learn to love. We learn to practice love and forgiveness and healing. And that helps get us home, back to our original vision. Now, some of you think, I'm growing metaphysically because I can see auras now. Who cares about auras? That's special effects. Spielberg can give you that. It's just special effects. You should be giving thanks that your consciousness is rising high enough to see auras. Not the auras, you. Ascension, ships can't bring you higher consciousness. Oh, here come the ships. Be sure to be at Bell Rock when the ships come. Okay? The ships cannot take you to higher consciousness, but higher consciousness can take you for a ride and a half. Higher consciousness can take you somewhere. The ships can't bring you the consciousness, but the consciousness can bring you the ships, so to speak. The consciousness is all that really matters. That's what ascension is. Ascension isn't that you had a walkie-talkie and you said yes when they asked if they could pick you up. Ascension is, it's an ascension in consciousness. If the ships came right now and said, we're going to go ahead and airlift everybody here at Unity, and then said, you ready too, Michael? I wouldn't say yes. I would say they deserve it. Take them. There's still some people here that haven't gotten it yet, so I'll go ahead and teach them still. Because I'm just, sometimes, I'm just stubborn sometimes to where it's like, I don't want to give up on these people. I'm not trying to convert anybody, don't get me wrong. But like Yogananda himself said, if there's one person left, I'm coming back. So that's kind of how I feel. I'm not trying to be a martyr. I'm just saying, I know my mind and my conscience and consciousness. And I know that if you guys all got to be taken, like the Anasazi were, to some higher dimensional reality, I would just say, it's your will, God. What do you want? Do you want me to go with them? Or do you want me to stay here? Yeah, and I know what I'd hear. I would hear, well, you're definitely welcome to come. But, there are some other people that could really use it. And I'd be like, fine, you got me. And so I would still be here. The goal is not the ships and to ascend out of a bad world. Hear those words. Your ascension is not to ascend out of a bad world. Because if you think there's a bad world, you're not ascending in consciousness. So what the world needs is love. Sweet love. What the world needs now is not us going somewhere, but growing somewhere. We're needing to grow in consciousness because the membrane that covers reality, we can't die, but the membrane can. So you think your loved ones have actually passed away when all it was the cellophane. They can't die. They're on the other side and they're fine. And there's many layers to the other side as well. But my point, people can't die. People can't be sick. The world looks crazy right now, but that's the membranes. That's the emphasis on brain, but it's the membranes. They're acting out with each other. Now, how's that going to get fixed? How's that going to get repaired? Only by you and I changing our perception to say, I'm committed to seeing the soul on the other side of the membrane, except for politicians. No, everyone. Fine. Everyone, except my parents. No, everyone. Well, you don't mean my boss. Everyone. You're allowed. Make a file and say forgiven, 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 not forgiven. Have a category in your card file. Have the non-forgivens in there. It's fine. You're allowed to have your own little category closet of people you refuse to forgive. And I don't mean gratuitous forgiveness, and I don't mean that you have to make yourself wrong for feeling angry at someone. I didn't say that. Go ahead, but get what you're really doing. Get angry. Someone hurt you. They're selfless and they're rude people on this planet. Go ahead and be angry. All I'm asking you to do is know that you're yelling at the membrane, not the real soul. Now, do you want your hatred for the membrane to keep you here looking like membrane to others? Knock yourself out. But what an interesting, strange waste of time. I insist, I'm going to be membrane. I just want to be cellophane so I can boo people, every so spook them through the cellophane. Really? Well, that's kind of disturbing, kind of weird. You might want to talk to a counselor. But at the end of the day, I swear to you, the real you that isn't the membrane cannot ever be hurt by anyone. The real you. There's a real us and membrane that we push through. Because we created membrane, we've created a veil to keep us separate from our ultimate identity, God. We manufactured that, and that's got to end. So this is what you hear Jesus saying, the Word was made flesh. That's what he means. The Word, which is the Word, the oneness of God, was in spirit, made flesh. It pushed through the membrane. That's what it means. But he says in A Course in Miracles, which is an impossibility. You think you pushed through the membrane. You think you became humans. The Word was made flesh. Wasn't Jesus came to earth. It means you and I, which are the spoken word of God, decided to become mortals. How was that ever a brilliant idea? Immortality, mortality. Total wholeness, sickness. Who in their right mind would choose that? Who would say, abundance, poverty, that's really cool. Could I get poverty and illness? And dysfunctional children? Like, I'm going to place an order. Who would go to a restaurant and say, I want all the worst things you have on the menu? And we did that. We did that. Not the real us, but the part of us that wondered what it would be like if we were not holy beings. And so it appeared to be. And the membrane was created. Then we started believing in the membrane. We started buying into this concept that we're nothing but the membrane. And it's hard not to believe that now because I created eyes and senses that tell me this is fact. I can touch you. You're not just a hologram. I can hear you. I know you don't like me because I heard what you said. I don't like the way you look at me. And we start making all this up. You don't look appropriate. You don't think appropriate. You don't act appropriately. Right? And the whole world's falling apart and it's horrible. But this is because it's dying. The world is dying and it's trying to scream to survive. The world meaning the ego-based world. Evil is dying now, guys, but it's screaming to try to stay alive. So it's doing that. I'm melting. So that, some of us will go, oh, I don't want you to melt. I want you to stay here. But it's nothing that's actually dying because it doesn't exist. We just made it up. We fabricated it because we wanted to know what it would be like to not be divine beings. Just curious. And curiosity killed the cat. So the Word was made flesh. We bought into this. We came here and bought into this. But it's only temporary. Time isn't even real. Time is part of the membrane. Time's not real. Well, we've been doing this for billions of years. Separation. Billions of years. Not like 100. Billions. And hundreds, if not thousands of lifetimes we've been doing this. How long is it going to take? Well, the good news is time's an illusion. So what seems like, oh my God, is whoosh. Honestly, you know what's going to happen at the end? It's going to everything that seemed to blow out into life and lifetimes is going to all retract into one split second where we're going to go, wow, that was weird. That's all that's going to happen. Everything that seemed to be will be one split second of, wow, what a wild ride that would have been. And we'll realize, but it didn't happen. We dreamt it. But in the world as it is today, when you start to wake up, the world will slap you and make you feel like they're right. You're going to wake up and continue waking up, and it will attack you for having differing beliefs. You'll be a family member who tells your parents, well, you probably really shouldn't judge that my child is gay or straight or whatever it is, or that it's an indigo or it's an alien from the Andromeda star system. Whatever it is, you're the voice. Our generation is the one that is making the change from old school judgment to the new life that's going to come to this world. This world is going to have peace on earth, I swear. That's going to happen fairly soon. But before peace can come, everything that is conflicted has to die. And we can let that happen the easy way or the hard way. So, don't sweat it. It's all good, as they say. But what do they mean by that? Well, that's a good statement of denial. It's all good, and yet inside things are wrong, things are off. Well, it's all good means, ultimately it means, despite all the not so good, the membrane, thank God that God's will shall be done. Peace is coming. I'm going to do my best for me to get out of the way. So you play New Age music, and you wear purple, and, you do all the New Agey things. But the day's going to come when you realize you're just as affected by fuel prices as anybody else. It's going to be like, I'm all New Agey, but no, I have an electric car. Really? I think that's great. Electric cars, good job. Don't use up so much fuel and all that. The only problem is, at some point, they're going to tell you there's no energy left. Of course, they're going to first quadruple the price for the energy, but then there'll be no energy. Then somebody else has to come up with what? Flintstones cars, where your feet are going underneath your... What's going to be the free energy? Where's that going to come in? Then you need special shoes to do the running because your feet get blistered. So this world doesn't have answers. Only God, only your real self, only love is the answer. And you can be irritated at what I'm saying. It doesn't matter to me. I know better. You're just the membrane that is annoying. Okay? So don't pet the sweaty stuff. Don't sweat the petty stuff. Some of you got that and some of you didn't. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. It's supposed to be don't sweat the petty stuff. And it's true that it is all petty, but it doesn't feel that way. We can all walk around going, it's all just an illusion. I'm not asking you to do that. Walk around, it's all an illusion. And no, it hurts. It hurts people. For now, it hurts them. It hurts to see loved ones die. It hurts to see yourself shamed and hurt. And it's a terrible world. Jesus himself said in the diary notes to Helen in A Course in Miracles, she brought up the Holocaust. Being Jewish herself, she brought up the Holocaust and the terrible things around that. And Jesus actually said to her, I have shed many tears over that. Well, why? He's Jesus. Isn't he supposed to be beyond that? Apparently not. Meaning, it's partly a metaphor. He doesn't have eyes to shed tears. Guys, it's meaningful. He's saying that even divinity has compassion for the pain we cause each other. In a sense, feels sad that we harm each other. The good news is it's an illusion, and one day we'll be celebrating that nothing ever had power over us. No Nazis ever had power over the Jews. No whites over blacks or browns or whatever else. No men over women. No adults over children. It was never a true power. It was people in pain inflicting their pain onto other people because misery loves company. But it's not the truth of who we are. So I don't like what you're doing to me, but it's not who you are. God, help me to see them as you see them. That's your prayer. Not, God, change them. Then what that means is the person pushing through the membrane, God, change them. All it means is they're going to slide over to this part of the cellophane. That's all it means. They're just going to slide up, down, left, right. They're still in the cellophane. Help me to see them as you see them, God. You know what happens? All of a sudden, the membrane disappears. And that's why A Course in Miracles tells you, one day you will feel gratitude beyond your human capacity to understand it when you see who is behind the membrane. This being of absolute bursting light, divinity, that brings tranquility to see them. How would I have thought that the person pushing through the cellophane was going to be that? They're all like shining light at me now, right? And it's beautiful, but the light that they'll burst into and shine towards you is also a mirror of you. So you find the same peace that you're seeing in them when you let the membrane go. Technically, you think about it, it's a, wow, what a tranquil, what a divine experience that would be. And think about people that struggle and think about maybe some people in your own lives that, are there people that you wouldn't let go from that one group in your diary to another? Would you allow everybody to go to the category of loved, forgiven? I'm not telling you that means their actions were nice. You're right, they're not nice actions. But are you willing to not hate them for what they seem to be and affirm love in them for what they really are? Can you make that transition? It's huge, and not everybody can do that. Why would that be? Are they incapable? No. There's only one answer, because they're still too hurt. That's it. When someone says, I refuse to forgive, oh, they're so stubborn. They're so mean. You're going to get all these names, and there's only one thing that's true. They're still hurt. They still look mean. They still look stubborn. That's all the appearance. Deep down behind that all, they're just too hurt. So when you try to talk to your dad about forgiving people in the Vietnam War that he, fought with, or whatever other circumstance, your mom who was abused by her parents, do not try to talk them out of their hurt. Because what you're going to do if you try to talk them out of it, you're affirming it was wrong and you're shaming them. Be the change you want to see in the world. Demonstrate the forgiveness. It's not always easy. I mean, God, I had children, at one point, now they're still my children, but they're older. So they're all pushing 40. But when they were little, I mean, my parents, they were beautiful kids. They just had a great energy about them. But I'm just saying, no. And you know what? My parents would go, we can't figure it out. They would even say it out loud to other relatives. We know we can't figure it out. How those kids are so wonderful. Coming from him. They would say these kinds of things. So I cursed them to hell and so forth. And then, kidding, okay. So what I understood was they could not peel the veil that they put on me and see me differently. But in a passive way, they saw my light, but they had to do it through my kids. Your parents might not get it today. They will get it. If they refuse to get your goodness, or the goodness of someone else they hated for that matter. You don't have to sit at their deathbed saying, wrong for feeling this way. I understand. No, I understand. And then what that person did, they're rock stars. Good example, John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater. Oh, poor guy. He was so thoroughly ripped off. And it was so bad that he wouldn't play music for years because he was so hurt from the manager that ripped him off. But the manager appealed to his brother and said, who was also in the band, and told him, hey, tell your brother to let it go, man. This is just business. So the brother's like, you got to let it go, John. You're wrong for hating the manager. Now you're just intensifying the fire. Now I've lost my brother because of that guy. Hate. So he finally goes and creates a solo career, and the manager sued him for sounding too much like himself. He said, I have rights over your sound. And the government said no. The court said no. In fact, they said, you've ripped this man off long enough. You're not going to get rights for his solo career and his sound. This is his. And they had to bring in all these other musicians and George Harrison and other people to say, we've heard this same argument. Music is not what the courts think it is. And they had to explain in detail. And Fogerty had to sit there and play, look, I'm singing what's called bayou music. I can't sing it without sounding bayou-ish. This is the sound. You can't sue a blues person and say they're ripping off all the blues people. This is the sound. So long story short, the resentment was so intense to the point where he went to see his brother on his dying bed. On his dying bed. And his brother tried one more time. Please, John, try to let it go. And Fogerty got enraged. Why would he ruin this final moment we had by talking me into forgiving that jerk? So that is not how you want to leave this world. Carry that with you to the other side. The other side will not look good. Not because someone's punishing you, because you're going to turn up the fire on the other side on yourself. Even if it just means reincarnating with that same manager now being your father. That's the kind of stuff, in a way, the humor of the universe. So you don't want to carry that stuff. The great song, it's all about forgiveness, the Don Henley song, trying to get down to the heart of the matter. And I'm thinking that it's all about forgiveness. What an amazing epiphany. I get it. Because his band members, they all hated each other. That's why they said we'll never tour and join together as a band again until Hell Freezes Over. What did they call their next tour? The Hell Freezes Over tour. I think that was hilarious. I really do. It's like, well, I guess hell froze over because we're going to go on tour again. Put it all behind you because it's going to eat you up inside. I'm not shaming you for feeling anger or John Fogerty for feeling anger. I totally get it. And I would say, I wonder, John, something like that happened to me, and here's how I dealt with it. Plant seeds. And you might one day even be able to say to someone like that, and he might be watching, John, hi. You might be able to say, I wonder what your music would be like if you brought the concept of love and forgiveness through. Just curious. You want to try a song, writing a song about that? It's that's what being born again is about. No longer choosing to live off the hatred. So one of our attendees I noticed posted online watching last week, and they summarized my last week's talk, and I have a post-it here to tell me, it's nice to be important, but more important to be nice. Okay? And what that brings us back to, as I'm starting to close, it's all about walking the talk. You have to integrate what you've heard, what you learned, what you meditated. Don't meditate blissfully and come out of meditation and be a jerk again. Because all that meant is that you had a nice fantasy. That's all it was. Just a fantasy. We have to change the sleeping world to a world that is awake. How? A day at a time. How to be the change that we want to see in the world. So we've got to walk the talk. Somebody's got to make a difference. Step up. Do something different. Shine light when everybody's feeling darkness. Not in a way of like Pollyanna-ish, but in your own way. I heard about this school principal. I thought this was cool. See, when everybody was saying pandemic, don't leave your house, in fact, your doorknob outside could be infected. Run and hide in your closet. Don't breathe, just put coats over your face. You do what you want to do. It doesn't matter. Have COVID, don't have COVID. Do you do it with class? Do you do it with good consciousness? Because if you're going to the other side, and you have COVID, but yet surrendering to God, you're doing pretty well. Just because you don't get COVID and you're a jerk, that doesn't mean much. It's better to go and be in God. And it's also great to be here and be in God. But the losing God, whether you go or stay, is not healthy. And this school principal is told, you're not allowed to have any graduations. There's a lot of kids, heartbroken, right? I mean, you just imagine what that's like. You have children. They're still children. They're still hurt feelings very easily and so on. Going through so much. And it's the first time in our history they're told, you're not allowed to have that thing. Graduation. This school principal built a stage on a trailer. Drove to each graduate student's house. Broke that thing open, stood up there, gave scholars, whatever your paperwork to. What is it? Diplomas? I had one, but it wasn't deserving. Okay? I mean, can you picture that? I think that's great. Because the law was he's not allowed to have a gathering, da-da-da. He found another way. Children got to go up on the stage and receive their diploma. Not to mention, you're also saying no to the insane people in this world who say you're not allowed to do that. They forgot to make a law about no graduation props on a trailer, you know. So he found, God bless him. But it's not just the act. Do you understand what he had to have felt inside? Do you understand that? I'm going to care about these kids enough to motivate me to do something different today. Walk the talk. Don't tell us how you feel bad about the kids. What are you doing about it? There are people without food. Hand them food. You know, help people out. I know it's perplexing and challenging and paradoxical for some people. No offense, but I have heard people say, like in Sedona, don't feed the homeless people because you'll encourage them. You know, it's kind of weird because it's true, and yet, is that okay? Is that bad? I don't think it's ever a bad thing for a person to feel valued. That's it. If you see somebody without food, I get it. But I understand there's also a lot of people that go, well, if I'm going to be homeless because I don't want to work, Sedona's a good place. And Honolulu. You know, if you've ever been there, lots of homelessness and everybody's just hanging out at the beach. I understand. I understand that your mind is going to tell you, well, maybe if I give that person $5, they're going to go buy alcohol. First of all, why is your first thought a negative one? Why do you assume that? Maybe they will. Did I ask you for your opinion? Did God say, I want you to care for others as long as they don't buy alcohol? Did I say your gifts are supposed to have conditions? Don't give. If I'm homeless ever, don't bring me a gift if you're going to tell me what I have to do with it. I'd rather die homeless and starving and not have a relationship with you. Your membrane. See me as who I really am, because I'm working on seeing you as who you really are. I don't want your gifts if you're going to tell me what I have to do with them. And that's just that weird, odd part of me, but I believe it's true. Get the attachments and all that out of it. So we're closing. Walk the talk. Don't meditate it, don't think it, don't theorize it. Please, because your universe, which is our universe, is going to call you on anything you say you believe. You can say, I really believe in helping people. Uh-oh. There's 5 of them right outside your door. I really believe we shouldn't live in fear. Are you going to drive the trailer to each kid's house? I would. Absolutely. If a principal approached us, we've had that happen. You know, there are some kids here, we don't have any money for scholarships this year, and this went on for a few years. No money for scholarships. Can you please, as one of the spiritual centers in town, can you give us $50? How much have you accumulated so far from all the spiritual centers? 500. How much is a scholarship? A few thousand. So you don't even have a quarter of a sponsorship or a scholarship. You know, you're not even there. And we're your last resort. But this is how we roll here at Unity of Sedona. I announced it, we raised funds, and we bought 4 scholarships. Kids that would not have been given scholarships. I think it was all art related. And I'm like, we will not allow these kids to go without that value. And when they came to us for money, you know, for holidays, for Christmas, for the women's shelter and so forth, you know, they're saying, can you guys collectively buy a Barbie doll? No. Get a Christmas list for all the kids at your place. We want to know a complete Christmas list. We're going to get every kid and their parent and the employees at the homeless shelter at least a few things each. That's how we roll. Of course somebody's going to complain. Do I look like I care? God, you know. If there's any consistent thing about me, it's that. I don't care. Do the next right thing. Walk the talk. Just feel it. Do you want to be that homeless person? Do you want the shame? Do you want your kids growing up in that? No, not acceptable. When they said we need money for food for kids that don't have lunches. How bizarre. The kids don't have any lunch money. So they had a program. God bless whoever came up with that idea. And we gave them a bunch of money so that, and we don't have a tons of money here. We don't. We get by each month. But we put the word out, it responds. We all come together and we make something happen, and it's miraculous. It's great karma, but is that why you do it? You do it because it just makes sense. I shouldn't have to talk us into it. It makes sense. Kids are at school and they don't have lunch money. How could, no, that's not even a possibility. What do you need? Let me get whatever I have. And I'm not going to ask you to give something I'm not willing to give. So I'm right there, pulling out whatever I've saved for the year, and let's get these kids some food. This is just the right thing. It's the right consciousness. Walk the talk. Please take a few centering breaths. Today will not be a meditation so much as sort of a communion, a prayer meditation combined. It doesn't do us any good to claim to be a being of the 100th dimension or channeling beings from the 800th dimension if we don't become any of the goodness we claim to channel. So, calmly, gracefully, patiently, just hear these words. When you see me, you see the Father, Mother, God. And repeat that a few times in your mind. You're not going anywhere with it, just repeat it. When you see me, you see the Father, Mother, God. And for just a half a minute, look at your life, your actions, your words, your behaviors, and ask yourself, in what areas of your life are you congruent with that? When you see me, you see the Father. Where is it true? Is it your parenting, your business ethics, the way you treat people? In what ways is it true that when we see you, we actually see a beautiful manifestation of God? It's not humble to brush this off and put it aside. No, it's righteous. You should be acting like God on earth. When you see me, you see the Father, Mother, God. Own it, integrate it. Congratulations, if you came up with just one example. Are there any areas of your life where you know it's not happening? What behaviors, words, thoughts, actions, in any category of your life are not really in line with when you see me, you see the Father? Where do you go, oops, or feel tense because it's not congruent? You're not to judge yourself for it. Just see it. And this is one of your greatest tests. Because how you handle when you slip is a major way to see the results of the test. When you see me, you see the Father would also mean you forgive yourself when you slip. It doesn't mean you'd forgive yourself and enable the hurtful behavior. You would just see it and say, okay, I'm going to work on that. That's all. Just change the behavior. Forgive all that is unlike God in you. See it almost like a silliness. Isn't it funny that I'm one with God and yet I still believe I can have a cold? Isn't it funny that I'm one with God, which is abundance, and yet I still struggle with paying a bill? See it as ironic so that you can more easily set it aside. Heavenly Father, Mother God, in this moment, I'm making a great choice to give thanks for the times where I have said, when you see me, you see the Father, Mother, God, and I lived up to it. But not in a prideful way and not by my own doing. I did it because you're calling me home and I'm allowing myself to live that call. Furthermore, in all the times I miss and slip, Father, Mother, God, in this moment I'm affirming my complete ability to forgive myself and get back up and walk forward again. I will never choose again to fall and refuse to get up or start crawling backwards. I will stand, I will brush myself off, and I will try again, because it is inevitable that I will declare one day with perfect certainty, when you see me, you see the Father, Mother, God. And when I do that, all of my brothers and sisters will turn to light, as so will I. And so it is. I pray that today's made good sense, that it's, absolutely applicable for everyone. Okay? So thank you all. God bless you, and thank you for being with us. And I pray that today made good sense. Walking the talk. All right? Please stand. And we'll share our closing. Thank you. We'll share our closing prayer. Reminder that you guys can still hang out in the patio, the front, back patio, either one. Hang out, chat, break bread, as they say, commune. Remember, the bookstore is open. But again, I remind you, Bill Foss, it starts at 3 o'clock. Oh, I got you. Thank you. That's why I'm not doing the class here. Sorry, guys. Oh, no, wait a minute. His class is after mine. No, there won't be crossover. I'm going to do mine here. Sorry. And so it is. I have spoken. Yes, and we'll just, my class, I'll start it a little early and end a little early and not be in Bill's way. Get some munchies in between, if you can, between now and my start, and in between mine and or between mine and Bill's, so you have some munchies. But please, I encourage you. He's the best I've seen at working with the Akashic Records. It's well worth checking out. And today, we're doing the hands-on healing. We'll keep that to a couple hours as best we can, and give room for everything else that's happening. So, thank you. God bless you all. You're centering in to deep gratitude, of course. Really feel it. Integrate the meaning of these words. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. See, it's a fact. It's the truth. It's real. Wherever we go, God is. I am. We are. And so it is. Absolutely. Hello, brother. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.